210 kph, 213, 217, 221, 230, brake as late as I dare, pile into this right-hander. Woo.
This is the A110 S, the newest version of Alpine's lightweight sports car. It has a few interesting tweaks: new suspension, better brakes as standard, new wheels, wider tyres, and while it sticks rigidly to the lightweight principles of the standard A110, it also, crucially, has been blessed with way more power.
Think of the A110S as the sportier version of the standard A110. The big news is that it now makes a shed load more power. It uses the same engine as the standard car, a 1.8 litre 4-cylinder turbocharged jobby, but now they've cranked up the boost pressure by 0.4 bar. That means you now get a massive 292 horsepower, which is a 40 horsepower increase over the previous car's 252. And immediately it just feels so much stronger, so much more willing to accelerate. The way it delivers its power is also different to before. Max power is now reached at 6,400 RPM as opposed to 6,000 RPM. So you got to wring it out that little bit extra to get that maximum shove. The torque is also really strong. You get a lot of shove, 320 Newton meters to be precise. And that's developed between 2,000 RPM and 6,400 RPM. And that's the sweet spot really. 6,400 is where you find yourself having to shift up to get the perfect acceleration every single time. The acceleration off the line hasn't really changed all that much with the extra power. You now accelerate from 0 to 60 in 4.4 as opposed to 4.5. But in-gear acceleration is definitely improved. The car just feels a lot more willing than ever to accelerate through the gears and catapult you around the track. And it sounds glorious. It might only be a 4-cylinder, but wow, they've worked magic with that exhaust. Oof. In terms of handling, the A110S feels like a much more serious car than before. The old car was almost comical in the way it rolled about through the corners. There was so much lean through the bends, but here, it feels like a much more focused car. I've come off that bend now, going down the long straight at Estoril, 210 kph, 213, 217, 221, 230, brake as late as I dare. A little bit of squirming under braking, but those Brembos are holding strong as we pile into this right-hander. Woo. It's still a lot of fun, but it does feel that little bit more serious, a little bit more hard-edged. Is it as playful as before? I'd say no. I'd say it's lost a little bit of that joyous character that it had about it. There's the checkered flag. It's good. It's good. The extra power makes all the difference. This car feels rapid. It sounds rapid. It feels, though, a little bit more serious than before. Too serious?
So they've made serious changes to the power, but that's not the only tweak. They've also given it quite a big working over elsewhere. The car has a gorgeous signature matte grey paint job, a carbon fiber flag emblem, orange brake calipers, and new GT race wheels with fatter tyres, 215mm on the front and 245s on the rear. The big change though is the suspension. They've dropped the ride height by 4mm, made the springs stiffer by 50%, and made the anti-roll bars 100% stiffer. That explains the more serious demeanour on track. It's a big step, but it's a step that has the potential to change the A110's character, and not necessarily for the better.
So, how have those changes affected the way the A110S performs on the road? Well, the first thing you notice is that this thing rides beautifully. Normally, when you have a car that performs so well on the racetrack, it kind of lets itself down out on the road. It's too noisy, too unrefined, too harsh, all of those things. The A110S is none of those things. I'm gonna keep it real. This was meant to be the part of the review where I was gonna say Alpine have cocked it up. They had a perfectly good car, but they tried to chase performance on the track at the expense of comfort and refinement on the road. But they haven't. It's brilliant. Part of that is down to the car's use of double wishbone suspension front and rear. In case you don't know what that means, it's the good type. This allows the tyres to maintain better contact with the road surface and also allows an excellent amount of vertical movement of the wheels within the arches without the need to increase the ride height. In other words, the inherent design of the standard car's suspension had huge amounts of pliancy to begin with, so they had loads of headroom to make things even stiffer in the A110S without hurting the ride comfort. Of course, we can't forget about the A110S's other trump card. It's got a couple. Earlier on, you heard me imply that most cars have to choose between low weight or big power, but the A110S doesn't have to choose at all. It has both. The car still only weighs about 1,100 kilograms, and everywhere you look around, you can see they've gone to great lengths to try and shave off every last kilo, every last gram. The chassis is made out of aluminium. The roof is now available in carbon fiber. That saves a couple of kilos. The center console is hollow. Not that convenient for hiding your things, but it does save weight. The speakers aren't made out of Kevlar. They're made out of flax linen, whatever that is. Sounds light. The seats only weigh about 13 kilos, half the weight of a normal sports seat. And even the wipers don't have water nozzles. The jets are integrated directly into the wipers themselves so they can clean more efficiently. More efficient cleaning means you need less water. Needing less water means you can have a smaller water reservoir. And that means less weight. There are downsides to this weight, of course. You don't get as many creature comforts, and the car is less practical than almost anything. It has 2 boots, but don't get your hopes up too high because both are extremely small. Inside, there's no glove box, only 1 cup holder, no door pockets, and the technology seems a step behind what we'd expect from a modern car. The infotainment system is based on a 7-inch touchscreen located up here on the dashboard. It looks okay, but it's not exactly cutting edge. You get Bluetooth, DAB radio, sat-nav, but here's the killer. It's actually quite unintuitive and unresponsive, and it doesn't come with Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, so most of the time you end up just using your phone. Fundamentally then, this is a car designed for driving pleasure, maybe at the expense of everything else, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Any ingredients that weren't totally necessary have been left out, leaving a perfectly focused driving machine. What I love about this car is that it's got a clear philosophy. You can tell the designers sat down in a room and just said, let's just come up with the best car that we possibly can. Let's put all of our knowledge, all of our expertise into one package and just make something brilliant, uncompromised. This is the fruit of that labor. The standard A110 is a great car, don't get me wrong, but I felt that it lacked one thing: sheer brute force. This doesn't. This is iron fist and velvet glove. The way it flows over the road is just unbelievable. You feel actually connected, not just to the car, but to the road surface. You feel it breathe up through the chassis, up through your backside. It's spine tingling. It's always had A1 suspension. It's always been lightweight. But now, having damn near 300 horsepower, that's just the icing on the cake, man. The grip isn't exactly massive, despite the fact that you've now got wider tires, but it's plenty. It gives you enough confidence to really throw the car into a corner and know it's gonna stick. Having said that, the car isn't permanently glued down. There's enough movement, enough play to let you have a good time. The DCT gearbox, meanwhile, absolute peach, so responsive, gives you exactly what gear you want, when you want it. I've said it before and I'll say it again, the sound is glorious. It's a big part of what makes this car so much fun. You got the induction whistle just over your left ear. You got the pops and bangs from the exhaust. And when you open her up, yeah, it's sweet, absolutely sweet. So what's more important? Is it power or is it lightness? Well, the standard A110 relies on lightness to great effect. It's such a fun car, phenomenal piece of engineering. But the A110S shows that if you can add power to the mix without compromising that lightness and without compromising the way the car handles that power, well then that's when you're really onto a winner.
And the A110S is clearly a winner. It's a fabulous piece of design. It's fast, fun, and with a unique character that makes it arguably the best in its class. If you're looking for a sports car that's been designed with all the fundamentals needed to deliver speed, one that sacrifices almost nothing in that pursuit, there really aren't many cars that do it better.